What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some more 2021 NBA free agents that I think the Golden State Warriors should be, potentially looking to go after. Of course, I'm going to be looking at, some role players, maybe a potential star or two here and there. A couple have been really mentioned. This could be obviously through trade and just potentially just a normal signing in free agency. So I guess without further ado, I'll get into, I think, the veterans in a little bit. But first of all, I'm going to start off with kind of some of the pricey role players they could potentially go after. Then we'll get, I guess, into veterans and then maybe some stars here and there as well. But first of all, a player that I actually wanted to talk about is a player that the Golden State Warriors do actually have confirmed interest in. There's reports they could be looking to make a sign and trade with this player, and that is actually Duncan Robinson from the Miami Heat. There is a big rumor right now that the Miami Heat are also interested in Kelly Oubre, so a sign and trade between these two teams would relatively make sense against them. Again, the Miami Heat are a very defensive-orientated team, and bringing in a dude like Kelly Oubre would definitely make up for the loss of Derrick Jones Jr., who was just a really nice depth player for them in, like last year. Again, they lost him and didn't have as much depth throughout the season. I feel like they need that dude. Kelly Oubre can come in and definitely be a much more, upgraded version, if you ask me. And then, of course, Duncan Robinson to the Golden State Warriors. I think that makes a lot of sense because, look, I don't necessarily think they need wing depth, severely. But, of course, bring in some more shooting to go with Steve Kerr's very heavy shooting kind of offense will be something that the Golden State Warriors will very much, of course, like to look into. Plus, the interesting thing with Duncan Robinson is, though, and I know some of you guys before, I've been mentioning this in some videos, you guys are like, how would any team pay this much for him? There have actually been genuine rumors that teams will be looking to spend around $20 million for Duncan Robinson per season. Some people are like, why would any team pay him that much? And, legitimately, trust me, I probably wouldn't either. But what's going on in free agency right now is that a lot of teams actually have cap this year, but there aren't exactly too many all-stars that are available. So pretty much a lot of teams will actually be spending a lot of their money on, just some catch-and-shoot players or just some elite role players in free agency. And teams will definitely be looking to spend around $20 million per year for Duncan Robinson, which is insane. In my opinion, he's not worth it. And again, if this was last year's free agency, he probably wouldn't get over $12 million. But because this guy is averaging around 12 points per game and is elite from three and has the potential to maybe go up to around 15 points per game on just threes, really, this is a much needed, player, and he's one of the best role players available right now. And again, there are teams that have a lot of cap going into the free agency, and I could see a team offering him around, of course, $15 to $20 million. I don't know if the Warriors will. I think if Kelly Oubre, of course, signs on that $18 million per year deal that he's been looking for, then maybe it's just an $18 million per year type for both of them and they just do a straight swap. Something like that could definitely potentially happen. But I don't know. It's very subjective how they will, of course, maybe go about this. Another player they could maybe look at is, of course, Reggie Bullock, who's another role player who will be available this free agency. He had an outstanding season with New York, being a very good defender for them. I believe he averaged around 10 points per game, was really good from three, but was able to really guard 1 through 3, which I think is what a lot of teams really like. Now, the Warriors don't have confirmed interest in Bullock yet, but I say yet because this dude is a veteran. And again, I say Duncan Robinson is worth around $15 to $20 million per year. What does that make Bullock? Because Bullock's pretty much averaging only a little bit less points, but has been a very good defender and is a very good veteran. In my opinion, there will be a team out there that will probably look to offer him around $10 million per year. Golden State's not that team, and I don't believe they'll get him because I don't think teams are really going to be offering Bullock exactly too much. Definitely not as much as Robinson because of his age, and who knows if he'll be as good next season. But you also got to factor in the Warriors don't have the cap to do that, and they're not going to do a sign and trade to send Oubre over to the Knicks. You wouldn't think to make this happen. So that's where I kind of rule out, Reggie Bullock as being one of those role players I suppose they could bring in. But, I guess you really never know in like the long-term situation. Alright, now moving on to some of the veterans. A big veteran who I think the Warriors will be heavily interested in will actually be Andre Iguodala. I actually believe the Warriors will be very much interested in bringing Iggy back to the team. Of course, he is a Golden State Warriors legend. I believe he'll be getting his jersey retired. I actually don't think it is yet. Who knows? It might already be retired. I don't think it is. I think they're still waiting. But again, I think he will definitely be looking to make a return to Golden State. He loved it at Golden State, and I think he'd be a really nice role player just to come back into their team. Again, he's not exactly doing too much for the Miami Heat right now, and he will be on an expiring contract, and they might be looking to bring in some different players and kind of change up the scenery a little bit, which means Andre Iguodala might not necessarily, he probably will get a contract from the Heat, but even if he does, I still think his preferred choice in free agency will be the Warriors, and I think he'll definitely look to go there on a veteran, minimum, which I genuinely believe he most likely will. Whether he gets a minute or not next year will be very interesting because the Warriors will have a lot of players to play next year, and whether or not Iguodala makes the cut, I'm not too sure. But anytime they need a veteran or some help defensively, or some, again, leadership from a vet, Iggy's the dude. Like, he'll come in and he'll absolutely fulfill that role. In my opinion, I could definitely see something like that, of course, happening. Now, moving on now, we've got Carmelo Anthony, who the Golden State Warriors have recently been interested in. Of course, they've been kind of showing, some interest in all these veteran-type players. There's a rumor Carmelo's going to be going to the Lakers to play with LeBron. We've all heard this by now. I don't think he'll be back with the Trailblazers. Whether they blow it up or not, I just still can't see him coming back. There's a lot of type of situations to definitely go into this, but I just think, I don't even know if he wanted to sign back with them last season. I think he did it because of loyalty. They picked him up, they gave him a chance. You gotta honor that and come back, which he did, which was excellent. But deep down in my heart, I don't know if I want him to leave the Trailblazers, but I also want him to, to win a ring. And I think he will go to maybe the Lakers to play with LeBron. But if he can't get a deal done with them, I am very sure he will look to go to the Golden State Warriors. Because this dude will get minutes on their team. They are in desperate need for some backup forward depth here and there. Not necessarily like wing depth. I mean like that forward depth that leans more to like that power forward position. Because I believe they'll be trading players like Eric Pascal away to acquire a star in free agency. Like Karl-Anthony Towns. Look, I don't believe Eric Pascal will be back on this team next season, which means they'll need a backup power forward. And who better to get than a veteran like Carmelo Anthony, who can bring you 10 points per game off the bench, some very nice leadership, and again, just that veteran IQ who will probably come on the vet at minimum. That's how I see it. But look, in my opinion, this is one of the situations where Warriors fans, you guys watching this, don't get too hyped for a dude like Carmelo, because I genuinely don't believe he'll come to the Warriors. I think he's going to go to the Lakers. I genuinely believe he will go to the Lakers and play with LeBron James, and that's just how I read the whole entire, of course, situation of things. But it definitely is up to debate. Some people might have the Warriors over him. Who knows? Maybe playing with Draymond Green and, like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, that'd be a pretty appealing thing. Plus Andrew Wiggins and like James Wiseman or Karl-Anthony Towns, whoever they're going to have a center next year. Because I honestly believe they might be trading for Cat. Who even knows? But yeah, I feel like also the thing with the Lakers is, which I think Carmelo will like more, is there's more of like an opportunity to start on the Lakers. Of course, he'll probably come off the bench and play big power forward minutes. But considering AD's had some injuries here and there, and they like to play him at that small ball center position, at more than one occurrence, I could genuinely see if the playoffs come around and the Lakers are in it and they rock with AD back at that, center position, I could see Carmelo starting at that power forward position in the playoffs. So that's where I see, maybe he wants to go to the Lakers. But then also on the other side, maybe the Warriors say, hey, we might run some small ball lineups where we start Draymond at center and then Carmelo at power forward. Hey, it's an option. Who really knows how that's all going to, of course, all go. And then now, when we look at it as well, another veteran free agent they've also been linked to is DeMarcus Cousins. We know they don't have very much center depth. They've got James Wiseman, Kevon Looney, they had Marquise Chris, and they had Eric Pascal playing some backup center minutes here and there. I believe Pascal will get traded. He's going to get traded for someone. I have a feeling it's going to happen. He's going to be a part of a package. Marquise Chris got traded to the Spurs. And then we look at Kevon Looney. I believe he's got one more year left on the contract. If not, I'm not too sure they'll bring him back. If he's got one more year left on the contract, they might say, hey, we want more of a veteran dude than trade him for a second round pick from some team. I've known some Warriors fans that it might be looking at this to be the option. Then James Wiseman, who knows, he might be getting traded for a star, or they'll probably just rock with him again next season. But all these ifs and buts kind of come into it. What about the whole scheme of things? What about DeMarcus Cousins? DeMarcus Cousins just had a pretty good return to, of course, the Los Angeles Clippers, where he played some good basketball here and there. So he might be looking for a long-term contract that gets him back on a team for 2 years. That might be on the veteran minimum still. It might be on a couple million. Again, he might be looking for a bigger role. Considering the Clippers next year will have Serge Ibaka back healthy if they bring him back. Zubac as well. Maybe they just can't bring back Cousins. Which means I think Cousins, it's going to be really interesting to see, where he looks to kind of go to. What team is he going to go to in the long, scheme of things. The Warriors could definitely be an option. I could also see him returning back to the Lakers, because I think they'll be in need of some center depth again next season. Who knows? There are a lot of teams out there that will be looking for some centers. I think maybe the Miami Heat, they might need a backup center. They're another team that will be contending here and there as well. There's a rumor Bobby Portis might get a big contract, so he might look to go to the Bucks. So, hey, there's a lot that can go into this. Could DeMarcus Cousins be on the Golden State Warriors radar? I'm sure he will be, but again, who exactly really knows? Now, looking at the other players, of course, that I think they'll be looking to maybe get back. Of course, these are some players that are already on the roster that are becoming free agents. First of all, we look at Kelly Oubre. I don't know if the dude will be back. I don't think he will. I think he's going to get signed and traded for someone, whether that's a star or whether that's a role player like Duncan Robinson. I guess we'll be kind of, yet to find out. Again, I just don't believe he'll be back, but I believe he will sign, but he'll get traded straight away, of course, a part of a big sign and trade agreement. I think most Warriors fans are kind of getting this sense that he will be in a sign and trade. I think it's only the inevitable, really, at this point, that he most likely will be getting traded somewhere along the line, in a sign and trade. Or maybe he just goes, hey, I'm sick of this crap, and just goes and signs with a team that offers him money, doesn't even worry about a sign and trade, to maybe go to a team that's, of course, over the cap or something. Whatever that whole situation will be, I don't think Kelly Oubre will be back on the team next season. Should they look to re-sign him? Yes, but only on a sign and trade. And that's my complete full stop on the Kelly Oubre situation. Now, Kent Bazemore, another dude who became the starting shooting guard for the Golden State Warriors towards the end of the season. Of course, once James Wiseman got injured, they decided to bring Kelly Oubre off the bench for a little bit because they just didn't want to start him anymore. That's another reason Kelly Oubre will probably leave. He's not starting, and he probably wants to start. He did start most of the season, but just not towards the end, and they want to play more of the Andre Iguodala role, coming off the bench to add some nice defense. He's not going to want that, and he's going to want big money, and I don't think you can pay a player big money, like $18 million a year, which he wants, to do a role just like that. So, Kent Bazemore, he kind of moved into that starting shooting guard position. Of course, that position will be practically filled out next year, especially once they get, their Klay Thompson back. Jordan Poole will get some minutes here and there as well. I do feel like Bazemore will come back, but I think his role is kind of in a little bit of a question mark, considering it looks like they'll be bringing in Iguodala, as I think almost a certainty at this point. I just have a big feeling they'll be bringing in some other veterans here and there. Kent Bazemore's going to want big minutes next season. He played about 25 to 30 minutes per game for this Golden State Warriors team this season. He's not going to get that many next season. I know Klay Thompson might struggle a little bit because he's injured, and he might struggle to come back. I really hope he does get back on the floor, but there will be struggles I'm sure he will have, which means Kent Bazemore will be getting some significant minutes. But if Klay gets fully healthy and gets back into it by the end of the season, that means Bazemore's probably going to be getting shifted to minimum minutes. And considering Jordan Poole rather, had a pretty big jump towards the end of the season, I feel like that leaves Kent Bazemore only getting around 15 minutes per game, which I don't think he's going to like. I think he's going to look to maybe explore veteran teams, but at the end of the day, when he can't, when those veteran teams, the competing teams rather, offer him pretty much the same deal, once it's all said and done, I believe he'll come back to the Warriors, but that's not to say that he won't explore around. I definitely feel like he'll be exploring around here and there to kind of see what his options are maybe like here and there, and that's just the reality of things. Like, I feel like that's just pretty obvious in my opinion. Then, like, once that's all said and done, we kind of look at the stars now. Who should they go, after? Of course, we'll talk about the more logical ones later, but first I want to talk about two that have been brought up that I don't think they should go after. Some people are saying they would be good. Some people are saying, well, most people are saying that probably shouldn't go after these guys. First of all, Kyle Lowry. They're not going to go after Kyle Lowry. I don't think they will. I know some people are saying they should because he's a really nice defender and Warriors like small ball, and he'd be nice to play with Steph. Look, he might be, but I think Lowry's a lot smaller than what a lot of people think he is. And I just don't think he will go to the Warriors. It's just not going to happen. And it'd also have to be on a sign and trade. I know the Raptors might be interested in Kelly Oubre, but come on now. This whole situation, that's not going to happen. Kyle Lowry he's going to want to be a point guard on a contending team, whether that's the Clippers or the Philadelphia 76ers. He'll find his way to get there, through a sign and trade. He's not going to even attempt with the Golden State Warriors. I don't really want to hear this suggestion anymore, and I think Warriors fans, you guys will be pretty happy to kind of hear me put a complete full stop to this conversation. Kyle Lowry does not want to go to the Warriors. The Warriors do not want Kyle Lowry. Full stop, end of conversation. The other player is Bradley Beal. I don't think the Golden State Warriors should necessarily target Bradley Beal, but will they target him? Yes, I think they will. I think they'll be looking to, trade for him, especially after there's rumors the Lakers, of course, going to try and trade for Russell Westbrook. That kind of brings in the big question of, Bradley Beal. Like, he's going to be on the trade block, and considering they have pick 7 and pick 14 available, which the Wizards would love, could you trade up 7, 14, a sign and trade of, like, Kelly Oubre, Andrew Wiggins, and maybe a future pick? Would that get the deal done? I think it would. I think the Wizards would be inclined to take that. If Drew Holiday was worth 3 late first round picks, and a couple interesting role players like Eric Bledsoe and George Hill, etc., then I think Bradley Beal's definitely worth some earlier picks. Of course, another future pick, and some 2 really nice players here and there. Though who knows? Andrew Wiggins maybe being the star of the Washington Wizards could be an interesting thing to see. And I could see Andrew Wiggins in a Wizards uniform, realistically. I don't necessarily know if this is the right move. I think Beal is more of like that shooting guard, and you don't want to move Klay Thompson to the small forward when he's just coming back from injury. Like, that's a disaster waiting to happen. You can't expect 6'5" Klay Thompson, who's had 2 years of non-stop injuries, to go out there and guard like 6'9" LeBron James and 6'9" Tobias Harris. That is cruel, and they're not going to do this at all. So, yeah, you wouldn't think at least, like, Klay Thompson, could you imagine his face when he hears, like, hey, man, you're going to be returning, but you're going to be playing small ball, small forward, and you're going to be playing LeBron James this week. Like, the dude's jaw's going to drop. Like, it's just not going to be a good situation. So, yeah, I'm not really on board with this whatsoever, but yeah, I don't know. How this whole situation really comes about will be, of course, I guess, extremely interesting. But, of course, I would very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this. What do you guys think about these free agents? Should the Golden State Warriors be targeting any of these players? Who would you guys like to see the Golden State Warriors target? Did I miss any players who the Golden State Warriors, should potentially target or might potentially target? Of course, definitely let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/vlogging channel, which I've been posting quite a bit of content on very recently, so don't forget to check them out, which I will all be linking in the description down below. But as I was saying, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.